the one thing I want people to watch out for is that if you don't have a man that stays the same, like women usually say, I can set my watch by my husband. My wife knows where I'm at. I told him to get the kids at 4 and I did this. I never, and somebody said this earlier, I've never complained about anything that is my duty in my life, ever, because it's the standard by which I must live. I am the temperament. I am the thermostat on the wall. If I'm hot, this whole house hot. If I'm cold, this whole house cold. So that must be men at all times.
But I agree with you, Saida, as far as like it's almost an epidemic here in America between Black American men and women. This is why we have these kind of panels, and you've been present on them. The men react extremely emotionally, and I get it. We're on a panel, but there's a lack of male presence on both ends. So like these men are growing up without these Black men are growing up without fathers, and these Black women are growing up without fathers. So it creates chaos on both sides, and now we're trying to come back together as a people, because if we don't fix the issue, it's stats right now. There's a decline in Black marriages. There is, like, yes, the people that are getting married may be marrying Black women, but it's a decline of it. Like, it's not happening as frequently.
But there's a decline in marriages as a overall, not just in.
I mean,
if you're saying men are emotional and men are reacting emotionally, but they're being raised by women who are emotional. So it's rightly so. They're just doing what they're trained to do. Exactly. That's all they see. They don't get that male dominance. They don't get to see how should a man handle a situation. How should a man react? It's not there.
What is it? Managing emotion. Like, I talk to my son about this all the time, because I'm a woman and I'm like, I can't teach you this, but like managing negative emotion, like Black men are not taught how to manage negative emotion.
If a man has modern values, does he deserve a traditional wife?
No.
No.
Okay, so the way I would say it is, I don't like the word deserve. We don't deserve nothing. We're humans. We don't deserve nothing. We have to earn it. Earn it. We have to earn it. And I would say, if you are a modern man and you want a traditional wife, you have to understand what that comes with. So I think you'll have to understand what that comes with, because, a traditional wife will expect you to cover all the expenses, and she will stay home, and, like, that's the way it is. And usually they don't say no to anything. She wants new curtains. You gotta go get the new curtains, So I'm not saying vacations or nails and stuff like that. I gave you an example for things that we will ask for, things for the house.
Making a house a home.
Yeah, and that's, hey, you want the kids to go on an extracurricular? You will have a problem for that. It's extracurricular for the kids. Yeah. So, yes, Mike?
Oh, me? Oh, no,
yeah,
that was hard.
I thought you wanted to say something. So it is the other way around. Like, if you are a more traditional man that wants a woman to work, probably it's understandable. If you cannot afford, a household on your own, it's understandable. You need help, fine. But now what happens there is no longer traditional. So if you're expecting for her to work, then you have to meet her and kind of like split the chores in the house. And because that's what happens here in my country most of the time, because of society, and inflation and all these problems with economy. It's very hard to sustain a household with one, salary. So they both have to work. So what happens is that you see men doing the dishes if he comes earlier, or he goes and pick up the kids. Like, they are splitting all these activities. He's folding clothes while she's cooking, or vice versa, or they take turns. So it's very normal. But what I hear, or what it's for me, what I understand is that men don't want to help in none of these things. But I don't hear them saying it, but I think that's how women are getting it. But in reality, men are already doing it. They're living on their own. Someone is doing their clothes. Someone is doing their food. Like, some way, somehow it's happening. But I
think when they acquire a wife, they think, okay, now that I have a wife, I don't have to do these things anymore.
The problem that I see is that just because you have a traditional woman doesn't mean that you're going to diminish what she does. It doesn't mean that it's just because it's easier in your head, you're not going to appreciate what she does for you, because that's a problem. Like, hey, it's I cook for you, I'm feeding you, I'm putting all this for you together, and you're gonna come home and then you throw the plate and be like, oh, this doesn't mean anything or whatever. No, that's not what traditional is. You have to appreciate her work, her labor too, even though if it's in the house.
So so the question is, does a modern man deserve a traditional woman?
Yes. If
Absolutely not. If we are if we're all talking about the same definition of modern. So let's go back to the beginning when I said traditional doesn't mean old, it means standard. A man can, even though a woman can, and clearly women are modern, men can never be anything other than standard. You know, Tia Mari had that big old blowout where she said marriage was a graduation and there's a curriculum, and she used it completely wrong,
That's what I'm
but
doing.
she did have good points. Marriage does have a curriculum, and you do graduate upon your death, but she just got the timing wrong. Okay, so and in the marriage curriculum, for those of you who are in education have taught before, right? I taught at the collegiate level for a while. There is a curriculum there. And one thing you know about a curriculum is that you can never take away from it. You can only add to it. You must teach to the standard that is given to you. You can add things onto it all you want. So men always have to be standard. You cannot change the standard by which a man works. It is literally the foundation in which women can build upon and bring their traditional values to build that home. Right. So no, a modern man definitely does not deserve a traditional woman at all. He has not done the work to show that he's able to sustain that household because, um, yeah, a woman should know they can absolutely say no to a proposal, and they should if it comes from a modern man who isn't looking to uphold the standards and values that it takes to have a functional and productive marriage. The one thing I want people to watch out for is that if you don't have a man that stays the same, like women usually say, I can set my watch by my husband. My wife knows where I'm at. I told him to get the kids at 4 and I did this thing. I never, and somebody said this earlier, I've never complained about anything that is my duty in my life, ever, because it's the standard by which I must live. I am the temperament. I am the thermostat on the wall. If I'm hot, this whole house hot. If I'm cold, this whole house cold. So that must be men at all times.
Trigger Mike, I'm sorry. You're in the military too, right?
I was, yeah.
Yeah, so like that's something that I will say that me and my friends were just talking about this. There is no like modern men now lack consistency and self-discipline. What you just said about the temperament thing, about them staying the same, about them doing their duty without complaint. Um that it they complain. They can't stay consistent for a week within themselves, and they can't stay disciplined. They have lack of self-discipline, and then they want to marry and they have expectation for said woman that they want to pull into that. And I'm like, why would I allow you to bring chaos or pull me into your own chaos, your own lack of self-discipline, your own lack of valor, duty,
agree with that.
responsibility, and you
Yep.
want to lead me? That's
I agree with that.
insanity.
You can't. I always say you can't lead if you don't even know where you're going.
Exactly.
But one thing that Trigger Mike did say, and I completely agree with, because that what you said reminded me of my father. Like if he got off at 6 o'clock, he'd be home at 6:30. You could set a watch to him, unless he had something else that he had to do, and he would make us aware. I won't be home until 7 tonight because of this reason or whatever, And I love that about when you talk about a man. I love like the words reliable, consistent, dependable. And most guys, when I say that, they're like, "Oh, that makes me sound boring." And I'm like, I don't know why that, to me, that's super sexy. It's like, I don't want to feel like, where is he? What's he doing? I wonder where he is. It makes you feel uneasy all the time. And I like to feel like safe in a relationship. So what you described, I feel like is what a real man would do. I mean, that's accountability. That's letting, it's not saying that you're a child to let your wife know where you are. It is being accountable to let someone know that you're safe, your whereabouts. And then I think it should be done on both sides. So to me, that's super hot. I want to be able to set a watch to my man and share your location.
That's a little excessive, but we'll let it pass for now.
Why?
Lady trying to have LoJack on her man.
What if something happens and then I know where to start because of the last spot you worked?
Come on, you know who I am. I'll be all right. I'll be all right.
When you ask a man to share his location, that just like sort of
I need my woman to be afraid to ask me such questions.
So
I believe she is afraid to ask.
So what's the problem with knowing location if you're where you're supposed to be?
No, I mean, be honest, nothing. There's nothing. I would say just finesse how you ask for that. Finesse how you ask for it, because that to me is a modern woman's issue. It is not what you say, it's how you say it. Women have been slick all their life, but modern women isn't that slick. Yeah, they like to be very blunt, and it doesn't work.
What if you don't ask? What if he offers?
Oh, no,
I wanted to say something about that because I was talking to someone who was very manipulative, and he one time shared his location, and I'm like, I never asked you to do this. Like, I wasn't asking for it. He's like, oh no, just in case you can have it. But then he used it against the fact that I didn't offer to share my location back to him. And I'm like, it's not that I don't want to. It's not that I don't want to. As a matter of fact, I am sharing my location to my dad at all times.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been sharing the location to my dad for like probably 3 years now. He doesn't even remember. If I press the button on my phone 3 times, it's an emergency, and the person that will get my location is my dad. So, you know, that it will be with my husband eventually, but obviously it's not going to be forced. I have to trust that man with my life, and the man that I trust with my life now is my dad.
Yeah.
So and as always, I ask this question because when you're asking for it, and since we're talking about traditional mindset, is submission there? There has to be, you know, you have to be submissive, but you are submissive, and I agree with this, to a man that you trust. But you don't have to be aggressive. You don't have to be masculine to the ones that you don't trust. You just have to get to know them to trust that man. That's what you have to do, because I hear a lot of women saying that, but it requires effort. It requires intention for you to do it intentionally, get to know them and trust them, give them a chance if you're going to do it. If not, then don't even bother. But I just wanted to say that I don't know about the sharing location with someone just because, but I see the point of why nowadays.
I mean, it's a modern, so you got to think, you got to give people time to kind of ease into it. It's a modern thing. It sounds so invasive. So maybe I'm thinking with the traditional side of my brain, maybe it's possibly necessary.
Why so many apps know where you are? It's like car insurances know where you are. Your phone can track where you are. Why not share with the people you love? I want someone to come looking for me if I go missing. Please have my location.
Those people don't try to manipulate me inside of my home. I ain't sleeping with those people. There's a difference.
Your wife will be like, you stopped here for 5 minutes. What are you doing?
So the interesting thing so I'm not gonna lie, that's the first thing that I said, because it's weird, right? This thing of trust that we talk about, it's weird how, let me tell y'all something about being a married man. A lot of our job is keeping the peace, and men get violated in ways that in order to keep the peace, we won't even, because sometimes you did something for it to be equitable, but you seem to have some kind of advantage that you're creating. And to keep the peace, I'm not saying nothing, but it's like, how many of these things am I going to allow in a relationship? So men keep mental notes. Like, first it's share your location, and we need to know if each other is safe. And it's just like, so what did you do today on your day off? And it's like, I've gotten that question 6 times this week. I'm thinking it's because I share my location. You know what I'm saying? It's like, we all will find a way to manipulate every situation. We've read the Bible. We know what Eve be doing, okay? Y'all can't trick us.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, I think though too, like a lot of also it plays down to finances too. A lot of reasons why a lot of modern women now won't follow up behind a man too is because there's a lot of consumerism now too. Men are not saving like they used to back in the day or making smart financial decisions like they used to. Like my granddad used to sit at the table and budget on a piece of pad and a note paper, and like he had like meetings quarterly with somebody to where he needed to invest his retirement and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that all guys are not like that, but in this like modern day thing of like scammers and get rich quick and we're I'm gonna take our whole life retirement and invest it in this coin because Elon Musk said to do it. Like I would be afraid to follow, like, you know what I mean? Like, and then now your money is gone and you guys have no contingency plan, like
Well,
because
I mean, yeah, that's true. That's true in a sense. It. I don't know that men are more. The weird part is that the statistics don't show that. It actually shows that women are the fiscally irresponsible ones. Women own 66% of all consumer debt, but you make only 30% of the money. Like it's weird.
definitely
So
see
it's like
that.
men are just as I don't know.
It's
Men have
more,
different avenues of making money, and yes, you are
yeah,
absolutely right about the consumerism. So if it comes fast, they're going to spend it fast. But I'm not sure it's as big a problem. The funny thing about the word retirement, I think retirement is a joke.
yeah,
It's
it's
so
non-existent now.
because men work extremely close to their death date. You retire at 67, die at 68. Like it. So what is a retirement for real for a man? It's weird.
It's just financially, I guess. I guess it's more of a generational thing than it is a
Yeah.
cultural thing, I would say. Because like the
Mhm.
men in my generation, like before, like you look at 27 and they're owning a home. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And I've
Oh
like
yeah, yeah.
guys now, and I'm like, why is your plan to own a home once you get a wife? Like,
No. So that's actually interesting. You have to look at the cultural reasons for that. So what did we push back? So you got to understand something. When you listen to some of these people on YouTube, they're always saying men need to be the best versions of themselves, like we're all supposed to be millionaires.
mhm.
I'm going to listen to that because I'm a businessman. Anton Daniel's going to listen to that. JR is going to listen to that. That's our way of thinking. But I'm also always looking out for the little guy because I'm like, they don't think like that. And that's okay. They don't want to really be rich. They just kind of want, because that takes a lot of work.
They want to
The
make
purpose, the purpose for most men, the large majority of men, is their family. So if these women don't give men a family to work for, they will be without purpose for an extremely long amount of time. Less than 9% of men own homes without a family to put in it. That's simply because you'll never do it. What the hell I've got this big ass house for, cutting the grass for? You it makes no sense to a man to want to do that unless they're gonna, make it a rental property or do it for financial gain. So it's really that part. When you push marriage back and women start prioritizing themselves and getting married later, you'll start to see all those stats and things get pushed right along with it.
another
Mr. Mike.
Ooh,
Go ahead,
sorry.
Andy. Go ahead. I can wait.
Another interesting thing that I saw was like it wasn't the house thing, but they were saying a guy from the age of 25 to like 30 who's single, the ones that have animals are a lot more prepared for marriage than the ones who just live with roommates or stay single and live on their own. And I was like, at first I was like, wait, are y'all comparing women to dogs? Right? But it made sense because they have another thing to care for, essentially. Like they have another.
I think men with dogs also have a routine. You can't just sit on your behind. You got to go out and walk the dog, or he's going to pee and poop on your carpet. So that's actually, it means the same thing for men and women. Essentially, when they say buy a dog, die alone, that type of thing, it's like you need a companion. If you are somebody who likes structure, or you need that in order to make you mobile, that's another reason why women get dogs. You got to understand, therapy dogs are a thing now for people who are depressed. Let me give you some stimulus. If you're not going to create it for yourself, we're going to bring this dog in to create it for you. You're going to have to walk it. You're going to have to care for it. This is going to take you out of your own head for a little while. So, it can do the same thing for men that it does for everyone else.
I said it earlier, like that's the part of like women nature to nurture. So that's why when we don't have husbands and kids and women that are elderly, they end up like getting cats, dogs, and plants because they need to preserve their life. So it's in our nature. You can't change that.
They become cat
Tyra, that is what I'm saying. So when you see, like, literally the cat lady shows women not necessarily who they're going to be, but it just gives you that most basic sense of, you need somebody to care for, right? It was supposed to be your husband, and you're supposed to have something to it's we've seen this all our life. We've known this since we were a kid. We made fun of the cat lady, right? So you've had progressive steps in your life to let you know who what innately every woman wants. You cannot escape it. The need for a man, like I said, is not erased, it's delayed. Like I'm really sad because if half the population of women in America are going to be single by 2030, somebody actually said this to me. I'm gonna share it. I'm sorry, they said it to my wife. They said, buckle your husband down. Do whatever you got to do. She was making a joke, like, don't let this fool come out of the house. If half the women are single, he's going to look like a whole Popeye's chicken sandwich out here to these ladies. Women always love dudes that look responsible, that are doing their thing, doing the right thing. So if most of the women in America don't have that, who becomes the most sought after person?
They're going to sink their little claws right into your back.
Yep. So hide your kids, hide your wife. Isn't that what they said? Yeah. Or hide your husband.
Hide your husband.
It's just with wives though too. Like men, like these women are not wanting to have babies. They don't want to have babies anymore. They don't want to get married. A lot of women that are younger don't want to do that. Like, I have a 22-year-old little sister, and we have these conversations all the time. She's like, "Hey, kids." Hey,
so,
I'm not.
Yeah, even, a lot of friends that will say that. They're like, "Oh, one and done. Oh, I don't want any more. I'm gonna go
So right now on that Passport Brothers topic, people are, there's a wave of them that go for the debauchery, but a lot of men are actually serious about that. And what's going to happen is, unfortunately, the black community as we know it in America is going to cease to exist in 50 years. Most of the full-blooded blacks that have my phenotype, they're going to be full-blooded Africans. You're only going to see a dark-skinned person and they're going to have an accent, or they're going to be a first, second generation African person. Because you got to think, you just said it. If women are foregoing having children and you're not doing it, because men innately want these things too. We want a wife. We want children too. We want them in our likeness. Like, I want my children to look. So when you think a man sees me looking all responsible with my kids and my beautiful wife with the big old booty and big, they're like, they're like, I want that too. Look at this dude. In the grocery store, they're bigging me up. Like, look at this black man. Oh man, you see what I'm saying? They want that too. So they're gonna think, if my women in America, the available women I have to choose from, aren't really down for this, I'm gonna go get a woman that is. And this is where they're saying I can get them. So that's really a movement that I think is gonna explode, because we've gone past the time of negotiating. Like, this is what you gotta understand, ladies. If men are still talking, there's still a chance. When we stop talking, when Trigger Mike the only person on YouTube talking, it's over. Because you got to think, men are the one, we do the asking, we do the approaching. So once we stop approaching, we've gone elsewhere. Remember, I said it's a biological need. Companionship, sex, it's a biological need. Only 20% of the men are having sex with all the women here. So all the other ones got to go get a woman from somewhere.